This is the Valve Steam Deck. It is the OLED version to be exact, and while the Steam Deck has been around for almost 4 years now, and there are objectively better and more powerful devices out there, at least in terms of hardware, this is without a doubt the perfect gaming device for me. But that doesn't mean it's the perfect gaming device for everyone, and to be honest, it took me quite a while to get here. I've tried a lot of different handhelds, and they all have their own merits, but none of them was able to do what the Steam Deck has done for me, which is to make casual gaming possible again. I have a bunch of devices here in front of me, ranging from some mobile gaming options to the ROG Ally, a PlayStation Portal, and a Nintendo Switch 2, and I want to talk to you guys about how I've experienced them, some things I loved, some stuff I didn't like so much, and some things that really surprised me, and maybe explain a little bit about how they were all part of a journey that ultimately made me fall in love with the Steam Deck. And hopefully by the end of the video, you'll have a better idea of which option would work best for you, or maybe you're already using one of them and you just want to confirm that you made the right choice. Let's ramble.
Hold up, place go wild when I pull up. They all on me like a one-time.
Alright guys, so I have to start off with a tiny bit of story time here for context. I used to game a lot, especially in my university days. I would literally set my alarm in the middle of the night so I could play shooters with my overseas buddies. That's how obsessed I was. But then life happened, I graduated, started a career, and later became a dad, and gaming just kind of faded away, and I ended up not gaming for the better part of a decade. And yeah, I'm kind of aging myself a bit here. We don't need to talk about my age. I'm 30. Plus 14, whatever. Anyway, for some reason, about 18 months ago, I suddenly got that itch again, and I started thinking, wouldn't it be fun to do a bit of gaming every now and then? So I decided to make a project out of it, and I built myself an absolute beast of a gaming PC, and I thought, why not make a video about it for the channel, which I did. And building that thing was so much fun. I started a bit of a Steam library and thought, okay, let's go. But it just wasn't clicking. And at first I thought maybe I'm just not playing the right games, maybe I should download something else, but no matter what games I tried, I just wasn't feeling it. Until I finally discovered that it wasn't the games holding me back, it was that gnawing feeling of guilt that came over me every time I sat down for a gaming session. I kept feeling that I shouldn't be wasting my time like this, I have more important things to do, yada yada. And the thing is, the feeling was justified because managing 2 businesses and being a triple girl dad, there is always more important stuff I could be doing. And that's when it hit me. I will never feel comfortable again sitting down for several hours on end to play a video game. That's just not my life anymore. But it occurred to me then that the moments I actually did have some free time are those dead moments between meetings, or when I'm on a flight and there's no Wi-Fi, or maybe those 15 to 20 minutes right before bed. And that's when I started looking into handheld gaming devices because while I might not have time to commit to a game for several hours, I do have little pockets of time throughout the week where I could enjoy a bit of gaming. I went out and got myself a Nintendo Switch OLED. And that kind of scratched my itch for a little while. I had a lot of fun playing some of the classics like Mario Odyssey and Zelda Breath of the Wild. I loved being able to just pick up the Switch, play for a little bit, and then put it back down. Also very cool that you can dock it and hook it up to a screen if I do ever find myself with a bit more time on my hands. And I discovered that I could have some fun with my oldest daughter as well, playing some co-op games. But after the honeymoon phase, having finished those classic titles, I found that most of the games on the Nintendo shop are, well, very Nintendo, if you know what I mean. Those typical Japanese happy anime style things, those aren't really my thing. So my Switch started collecting dust on a shelf. Now, you're probably noticing a Switch 2 here in front of me, which I did get mainly to be able to review it for you guys when it first came out. And I do have to say it's an improvement over the original Switch. The screen is great even though it's not an OLED. The Joy-Cons and the way they attach are a lot better now. And because it's a bit more powerful, Nintendo also opened its doors a bit more to non-native games, which means you can now play things like Cyberpunk or Star Wars Outlaws, for instance. What I didn't like about the original Switch and I don't like about the Switch 2 is the ergonomics. It's very flat, not very comfortable to hold, especially for longer gaming sessions, and it still feels pretty fragile because of all the moving parts. Thankfully, there are solutions to this, the best one probably being the KillSwitch by Dbrand. I'm sure you've heard about Dbrand. If not for their well-known phone and tablet skins, it'll probably be for their social media presence. If you're not following them, you probably should. Those guys are absolute savages. Anyway, the KillSwitch turns the Switch 2 into the device I think it should have been, by adding protection and ergonomics in all the right places. The grips for the Joy-Cons are probably my favorite part. It makes them infinitely easier to hold, but the entire case is just great. It fits really snugly around the Switch 2, and especially combined with a snap-on cover, I really never feel the need to use a case. I no longer feel nervous about tossing this thing in my bag, and a little bonus is that the cover actually stores a bunch of gaming cards. Everything is protected, even the kickstand, as you can see. And because it's so well protected, I don't even put a case on it anymore. Just the cover is plenty. And if you want to do it all the way right, I would also recommend adding their Prism 2 screen protector. Nintendo Switch screens are notoriously fragile. They're soft as butter and they scratch way too easily. The Dbrand screen protectors come with those idiot-proof installation units, you know? You just clean the screen, stick a protector on it, slide your finger across the line to get most of the bubbles out, remove the unit, and then slide any remaining bubbles out with the included squeegee. Couldn't be easier. So yeah, if you're worried about your Switch 2 breaking or you just want better ergonomics, get yourself a KillSwitch. As always, links to everything will be in the description below the video, and depending on the time of year, they may have some deals ongoing. If so, I'll be sure to add those and any discount codes as well. Anyway, for me personally, as much as I appreciate the Switch for what it is, I had to come to the conclusion that Nintendo games just aren't it for me. So then I thought, okay, so those games aren't for me. Maybe I should try one of those Windows gaming handhelds. They're essentially mini PCs, so I should be able to play all my Steam games, right? So I got the ROG Ally. And it did what it promised. It played my Steam games, most of them anyway, and I was enjoying it. Even started modding the device. I replaced the built-in storage with a bigger SSD, but there was one big problem with the ROG Ally: Windows. I hate Windows with a passion. It's clunky, buggy, and in constant need of updates. The whole point of getting into handhelds for me was for me to be able to pick it up on a quiet moment, play a quick game, and then put it down again. But more often than not, I would find 20 minutes of time, and then instead of gaming, I was wasting it on yet another mandatory Windows update. So those little pockets of time I had became update time rather than gaming time. So yeah, as much as I appreciate the hardware on the ROG devices, the Windows experience just ruins it for me. Meanwhile, I kept hearing about the Valve Steam Deck, which at first I had dismissed because of the so-called inferior hardware. I was used to looking at gaming from a performance perspective, like how can I squeeze the best graphics and the highest frame rates out of a game? The computer with the best graphic cards is the one you need, right? Well, it turns out not so much for handhelds. I decided that those Steam Deck evangelists couldn't all be wrong, so I got the OLED version because it had just come out and I figured I might as well. And man, it's like a whole new world opened up to me. SteamOS is such a smooth experience right out of the box, such a stark contrast against the buggy and frustrating Windows experience. This literally felt like a handheld gaming console, not a miniature PC, a gaming console. And yes, technically the Steam Deck is a mini PC running Linux and you can boot it up in desktop mode, but the beauty is you don't have to. SteamOS feels so flawless, so perfectly designed for gaming that I never want to navigate away from it. The way it just appears as soon as you hit the power button, the way it categorizes and displays my games, both the UI and the UX, this is exactly what I've been looking for. Unlike the ROG Ally, I actually can pick this up and start playing immediately. In fact, the sleep and wake function is so flawless that I can put the device to sleep in the middle of a game, and when I pick it up a half a day later, the battery will have barely drained and the game will be exactly where I left it. This is what I can play between meetings. This is what I want to pick up right before bed for that quick 15-minute gaming session. And unlike my Nintendo Switch, this has all the games I'm actually interested in playing. Of course, there will always be games you simply can't play on the Steam Deck. Graphically very demanding games probably won't run because the hardware is of course limited, but by and large, this plays most of my Steam library and it plays it really, really well. What it lacks in graphics and frame rates, it makes up for in OLED crispness. See, the thing is, you don't need the highest settings for a game to look absolutely stunning on a small OLED display like this. And what's cool is that within Steam, you will be able to tell whether a game is going to play well on the deck or not because of all the community feedback. When there's a green badge, you know the game will run absolutely beautifully on the Steam Deck. And even when it's orange, it will run just fine. It mostly just means there are minor imperfections like the in-game text being a bit small to read. And like I said, the games that aren't compatible are either very demanding ones or the games that require an anti-cheat kernel, since those do rely on Windows. So if you're into competitive shooters, the Steam Deck probably isn't the one for you. But then again, if you're into those kinds of shooters, you already know this and you want to sit down with a mouse and keyboard anyway. But if you're into cozy games, story-based games, or even some shooters that don't require anti-cheat, you will thoroughly enjoy the Steam Deck, I promise you. A great example of a shooter that actually plays really well on the deck is Arc Raiders. If you do really care about graphics and game performance, you do have the option to stream games from your beefy desktop PC, as long as you have a fast and stable Wi-Fi connection, of course. But it doesn't end there. The Steam Deck can also serve as a really great retro gaming device. Because you can boot it up in desktop mode, you have the option to install something like EmuDeck and run emulators right on your Steam Deck. You're gonna have to source the games yourself, of course. Can't tell you where to find them, but once you do, the sky's the limit. I have been really enjoying playing some of the old gaming classics like Tetris on the OG Game Boy, or Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo, or what about Donkey Kong Country? Takes me right back to my childhood. Now guys, I could end the video here because for me, the Steam Deck is almost perfection. But I want to mention two more options: the PlayStation Portal and mobile gaming as well. And you're really going to want to hear me out on that last one because mobile gaming just got infinitely better. But before I show you what I mean by that, I want to give some love to the PS Portal. This thing was a bit of a flop when it came out. It was basically a glorified tablet with a DualSense controller attached to it. You could only stream games from your PS5, and unless you had a crazy fast internet connection, that would be pretty buggy and it wouldn't be a good experience at all. But recently, that changed. Not only is it way more stable now, it lets you stream a lot of the games in your library straight to the device from the cloud. So you don't need to be connected to your PS5 anymore. All you need is a PlayStation Plus premium account and a stable Wi-Fi connection, and you're good to go. And that really did make this thing a way more interesting option in my opinion. But yeah, this is only interesting, of course, if you're already in that PlayStation ecosystem. And that brings me to mobile gaming. Look, if you're a proper gamer, you're not going to be interested in mobile gaming, no matter how good some of them look these days. The reason I put this on the list anyway is the fact that the hardware on these mobile devices is getting so good that you can use these to stream your PC games and your console games as well, using apps like PS Remote or Steam Link. Slap on something like this Razer Kishi and you've got yourself a proper handheld experience. And the options just keep growing too. Netflix has been slowly rolling out gaming on their streaming service, and they recently surprised everyone by adding Red Dead Redemption to their catalog. So if you have a Netflix subscription, you can play this game on your mobile phone or tablet, which is just wild to me. But for Android users, it gets even better. Let's say I hook up my Galaxy Fold 7. I get a nice big screen, and because it's an Android, you can download an app called Game Hub to your phone and actually download games from your Steam or other gaming library on this device. It is just nuts to be playing a game like Silksong on my Samsung Fold 7 with a mobile controller, and I can only imagine where this will go from here. It really does seem like the sky's the limit with mobile hardware improving year over year. They have these crazy fast chips in there, and they're almost up to par with the gaming handhelds. Almost. So guys, as you can see, there's absolutely no shortage of options, all with their own pros and cons, and I haven't even covered all of them. These are just the ones that I've come across in my little gaming journey, and I'm happy they've led me to the Steam Deck, which really is the perfect handheld for me. SteamOS is just amazing. I love it so much that I'm actually super excited about Valve's recent announcement of the Steam Machine, essentially a mini PC that will run SteamOS and connects to your TV, which technically turns it into a console. I'm assuming it will behave kind of like a Steam Deck on steroids. Who knows? I might even get back into console gaming. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a like if you did, and let me know down in the comments what your favorite handheld is. See you in the next one.